It's Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. I'm Todd Dunn, and right now I'm in my truck, and I am turning around out here at the Maine State Ferry Dock in the village of Bass Harbor. And what I want to do in this video is show you a little bit of what the harbor looks like here. Now, I'm limited because there is basically very little public access on the Bass Harbor side of Bass Harbor. Now, I say that because Bass Harbor has two villages on it. On the east side is the village of Bass Harbor, and on the west side of the harbor is the village of Bernard. So right now I'm at the ferry dock on the Bass Harbor side. There we're looking out the window. Unroll it at the outer harbor, and we're going to come up here and take a look at the inner harbor. Now, one of the problems is there is no public free parking anywhere out here. So I'm driving along, there are no parking signs on both sides of the street. So I cannot legally stop and get out and shoot video. I'll come down here. This is the old Underwood Cannery, which is now a condominium. And we'll take a look. And this isn't public access here, but it is a place where you can pull in. This is the parking lot for the Seafood Catch restaurant, which is, I believe, closed for the season now. And it is one spot where you can get right down to the water. And we're looking west across Bass Harbor toward the village of Bernard. And you can see that the lobster fleet is pretty much in for the day. It's all lobster boats over there. Now what we're going to do is drive around to the Bernard side of the harbor, where there are two public access points where I can park and get out and go right down to the water. So let's get going. Alrighty, we're pulling out of the Seafood Catch restaurant parking lot, and we're heading around here on the road that goes right along the edge of the harbor. And again, this is all private property. Can't park here unless I pull into somebody's yard. Go up and have a look. And it is almost high tide right now. And it's a pretty high tide. We're in a period of astronomically high and low tides. As we come out here, we're going to turn left onto Route 102A. Right here. And I will just make sure that I can make the turn. And here we go. And this is the last spot where the road is right next to the water here. But again, no public parking, so you can look, but you can't stop and get out. All right. And from here, we move inland a bit. And right up here is a spot where you can see the harbor and part of the upper anchorage. Alright, and for the next little bit, we're inland and you can't really see the water. You can kind of catch glimpses of it through the trees, but that's it. And we're going to go up here and turn left and head over to the intersection, one of the intersections, with Route 102. So 102A starts right up here and goes alongside Bass Harbor out around the seawall area, and then over to Southwest Harbor. And it's about a 5-mile long loop. Okay, here we go. And we're just going to drive up here. And we are inland a couple of 100 yards right here. The harbor is on our left. But just driving through here, if you didn't know there's a harbor right over there, you just you would think that you were just in a, you know, not very heavily populated small town, which you are. Okay, we're going to come up here to this stop sign. This is Route 102, which starts up at the head of the island, and it's kind of a hard spot. I gotta make sure I'm okay to pull out. And right here, it is right next to the water, and we're coming up, go past the school here. There's a very significant slowdown here, and this is the upper part of Bass Harbor. And on the other side, the Bass Harbor Salt Marsh. And I'll just continue here, and we're going to continue on around the northern end of the harbor. But for most of the way, we're not going to be able to see the water. And then we're going to go into the village of Bernard. Now, both Bass Harbor and Bernard are in the town of Tremont. And we just got a little ways to go up here till we get to the turn to go into the main part of Bernard. And we are gonna, in just a little bit, past the extreme northern end of Bass Harbor. Right now, since it's high tide, there'll actually be water there, but at low tide, the spot we're going to pass will be just mud. So just that. Here we go. This is the northern end of Bass Harbor. Let's put the camera over here so you can see it. And there is a little turnout here where you can stop. And at low tide, this is mud. Drains out completely. All right, and we have now passed, when we went past that little bit of the harbor there, we have exited the village of Bass Harbor, and we're now in Bernard. And we're going to make a left here and go out to the two public access points on the harbor here. All right, so we're just going to go out here a ways. Again, the road here is 100 to 150 yards inland from the harbor as we drive through the village of Bernard. Now, neither Bass Harbor nor Bernard has any significant commercial activity. In Bass Harbor, we have the State Ferry Dock. We have a convenience store, Hanson's Outpost, which is also a gas station. And in the summer, we have the Seafood Catch restaurant, but that's about it. Now, over here in Bernard, other than some lobster docks, the only real business is Thurston's Lobster Pound, which is a restaurant that's open in the summer. So we're going to go out, and we'll go out past it. And this little brick building here on the right is the Bass Harbor Library, even though it's in Bernard. And I just keep going here a little. Now, I'm going to go out this road here to the right. This is Locust Point Road, and this will take us out to a public access point on the water called Back Beach. Now, Back Beach is a natural seawall built up by wave action. It's basically rocks that have been piled up and sand. And last winter in January and again in March, we had some big storms that overwashed Back Beach and the road that we're going to be going across, and really changed the look of Back Beach quite a bit. I mean, if you hadn't ever been there before, you probably wouldn't notice the difference, but it really is quite different now. So there's a little narrow spot right here with water on both sides, and this area here was overwashed by the storm. And right here on the left is the road. If I got the right spot. No, I didn't. Not yet. Where's the turn? Oh, there it is. The road isn't very visible. Okay, right here on the left, right there is the road out to Back Beach. And this is one of the two public access points on the water here. And these are private homes on the right. And we'll just come out here and park. The road is pretty rough. This whole area got overwashed and was a real mess this spring after the storms. Okay, here we go. We'll pull up here and we'll go walk on Back Beach. Okay, here's the sign that designates this area, Watson Memorial Playground. And we'll walk up here. Now where we're walking, the surf was overwashing during the big storms. These large rocks got moved and weren't here. And it used to be a bit of a drop down to the beach. Now you can just walk down. And here is Back Beach. Over this way is all private property. And this is the public access beach. And as you can see, there's a picnic table up there on the top of the bar. There used to be another one, but it kind of got destroyed in the storms. So it's quite nice here. Very pleasant beach. And on the other side of this natural seawall, there's a little lagoon. As I said, in January and in March, we had big southeasterly storms that came in here right at astronomically high tide and overwashed this beach completely and really dramatically reworked it. And across there, you can see the ferry dock where we started. And that's Bass Harbor Head. And right around the corner from that point is the Bass Harbor Lighthouse. And then there's Gotts Island over there, and Placentia Island with Black's Island in the distance. It's a little hazy, but it's quite pretty out here. Okay, now let's go down to the other public access point on the water here. All right, we're back out at the end of Locust Point Road. If we go left, we'll go back out to the main road. But we're gonna go right, and we're gonna go down to the Bass Harbor Town Dock, or Tremont Town Dock, which is right up here. And where you can launch your boat or whatever. This is the parking lot for it here. You can park your boat trailer there, and while you're out on the boat, and park your car there. We're just going to go up here a little bit to this stop sign, and we're going to turn left. Actually, before we do that, I'll show you the rest of the area out here. We'll turn right. And we're going to go out here. This road goes about as far as you can go on this side of Bass Harbor, unless you go out to Locust Point, where we just were. And we're just going to go down here and make another left and go by Thurston's Lobster Pound, which is a lobster restaurant. And the road here just goes out to a dead end in about 50 yards out there, and it's quite hard to turn around. So here we go. And this building with the yellow awnings is Thurston's Lobster Pound. In the summer, when it's open, this area is packed with people. And there is a fair amount of parking here, but it often is completely full. This restaurant is very, very busy. Now these are just little lobster sheds that belong to lobster fishermen. They rig their gear and everything there. And there's the harbor. And right in front of us is the town dock, which is where we're going to go, because that is the other public access point to the water. So we're just going to go up here. This is Thurston's Lobster Pound parking. In the winter, as you can see, it gets used for lobster trap storage. And we're going to turn right and go down to the town wharf. And there's a nice boat ramp here, and you can launch your boat. Pretty big boat too. The only issue is that the road here is pretty steep coming out. So very few commercial outfits launch boats here just because that steep road. All right, we're going to come down here and park and have a brief look at the area. And there's Bass Harbor, and you can see it is full of lobster boats. All right, I'm out of the vehicle, and you can see lots of lobster boats here. Bass Harbor is the primary lobster fishing fleet on Mount Desert Island. There are more lobster boats here than in any other harbor. Southwest Harbor is a close second, but there are quite a few more lobster boats here. So let's walk over and see what's going on. That dock over there where the boats are tied up is Up Harbor Marine. It is a tiny little marina, room for maybe 20 boats. And as you can see, it is high tide right now. But it's quite a nice little access point. And on the other side of the harbor is the village of Bass Harbor, where we were just a few minutes ago. This is a very well protected harbor. It's almost never rough in here. This is the boat ramp right here, which is a very good ramp with these docks on both sides. It's easy to launch, but as you can see, the road out of it is pretty steep, so you wouldn't want to come down here with a really big heavy boat. Might be a bit of a challenge to get back out, particularly with wet tires and everything. So here we are. Walk out to the end of the dinghy dock. And there's another dinghy dock. These are mostly lobster fishermen's dinghies to get out to their boats. And as you can see, lots of lobster boats out there. And as we look up harbor, all these floats are what they call lobster cars. Lobstermen keep gear on them so they don't have to come in. And then lots more lobster boats up harbor. And finally, Up Harbor Marine with its moorage for, maybe 10 boats, maybe a little bit more. It's a very small little marina. And as you can see, basically, with the exception of a few small skiffs, there's nothing but lobster boats over here. There are a few pleasure boats that moor way up the harbor in the summer, but they're pretty much gone, although I can see one small sailboat over there. Okay, so let's walk out on the town dock. This is the harbor master's office. That's a lobster buy truck. Lobster boats will come in and sell their lobsters directly. When I first moved here, there were a number of docks here where the lobstermen sold their lobsters and could pick up bait and fuel. And those are pretty much gone now. As far as I know, the only one left is Thurston's Lobster Pound, which does buy lobsters. And now these buy trucks are the main place that the lobstermen sell their catch. And if we look out there, I thought I saw the ferry coming in from Swans Island. Should see it in just a minute. That's the ferry dock out there, that distant dock. I think I'll walk out onto the float and we'll see if we can see the ferry coming in. Okay, here we go. And you can get a good look at a lobster boat here. This is a small one. That round object is its hauler that they use to haul the traps up. That box is over the engine, and usually they would have containers of bait and containers to put lobsters in. And you can see other lobster boats out here. And out there, there's the ferry coming in from Swans Island into the ferry dock. It makes a number of round trips every day. And I think it's going to turn and back in so that the trucks and stuff that are on it can just drive straight off. And you can see nothing but lobster boats here. The brick building on the other side is the old Underwood cannery, now condos, which we drove by at the beginning of the video. And straight across, right over this lobster boat, the Double Trouble, the little gray building on the far side is the Seafood Catch restaurant where we pulled up to the shore. Okay. So, Bass Harbor. Very protected harbor. There are large areas over there where you see no boats. That's because at low tide that area dries. No water over there. And some pretty good sized ledges marking the entrance to the harbor that are not so apparent right now at high tide. So the lobster boats tend to go out early in the morning. I can hear them go out from my house. They head out usually an hour or so before dawn so they can be out in their fishing area at first light. And then which means that right now they're going out about 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're usually going to come back in by about 2 or 3 to sell their lobsters and you know, do whatever they need to do on the boat for the afternoon, load bait, etc. for the next day. Now, a lot of these boats look pretty empty right now, and that's because the end of the season from a lot of them, particularly the smaller ones, is pretty much here. And although a lot of these boats will overwinter here in the harbor, a lot of them won't be fishing. Okay, so that's Bass Harbor, Maine. The harbor and the villages, village of Bass Harbor on the other side, and the village of Bernard on this, the west side of the harbor. So I hope you found it interesting to see and see where their public access to the harbor is. As I said, it's a very busy lobster fishing harbor. Pleasure boats do come in here a little, but there is not a lot of space for them. And I don't know if the town maintains any public moorings. Probably not, because this harbor was dredged by a grant from the Army Corps of Engineers a few years ago, which means that they cannot rent out moorings to the general public. So that does cause some issues. Anyway, I hope you found it interesting, and I'm gonna head back home and put this video up.